to day 2. This day is going to be all about learning the importance of our worth and that we're worthy of all the love that we can experience inside of us, even though bad things happened to us. And we want to hold it against someone else and we want to have them pay for it. But we know in the long run, we're really the ones paying for it. So I'm Tammy Magnuson, and I'm a dream builder coach certified with the Brave Thinking Institute. And I'm also a Utaptics practitioner certified level 4 with the Skills to Change Institute. And it's super exciting to share this information because of how it changed my life. And I am going to share my story with you later. But for today, what I want to share is our day 2 lesson and our work. So first, before we get started, let's go ahead and generate state. So when we know that we can create an inner state of peace for ourselves, that's very self-empowering. We can do this at any time, the more and more we practice it. So can we practice peace? Yes. Do we have to be held to the whim of whatever thought and whatever emotion comes by us based on our circumstances and conditions? We don't. We can create a state. So just take a deep breath in right now. Blow it out through your mouth like through a straw. One more deep breath in. Out like a straw. And one more deep breath in. And now think of all the things you have to be grateful for. And if you'd like to share it with some of us, that will help us to feel that higher energy of gratitude and abundance and love and joy. So I'll start. I am so grateful for this group. I'm so grateful for the insights that happen to me as I share some of the things that have happened in my life and as I share how I've overcome many, many things. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be speaking into your life because of the gifts that have been given to me. Feel free to share any gratefuls that you would love to share with us and raise our vibe.
I am grateful for you, Tammy, for the gifts that you bring us, and that for people that understand my emotions, but that I have my neighbors again who really don't understand when I'm coming from when I say meditation and things like that, and they're so bewildered. So it's so nice to be able to talk in the language that people understand me. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, good. And did you come up with, yesterday was a difficult one. We needed to feel good before we thought of our enemy and come up with one grateful. If we could do 10, all the more blessing to us, right? And you're worthy of that. Were you
Yes.
able to do one?
Yeah, the enemy was me because I keep
Oh,
self-sabotaging myself. But in IAFS training, it's the part of you and all the different parts you have. And so one of them is the Punisher. And so and the inner child, the inner girl in me. And I loved her and I liked her. And the Punisher, I kind of turned myself into the inner critic Punisher. I turned the inner critic into a cheerleader.
my goodness. Yes. Yes, that's huge. Day one, we already have this dramatic change, and that is the truth.
And I
That's
thank
the
you.
truth.
Thank you.
A cheerleader. Amazing. Yes. Perfect. Anyone else have something they'd like to share? Grateful, any kind of gratefulness in your life. It really raises the vibration of all of us and gives us that sensation of more love. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, the other way I'm so grateful to find you too, Helia. Thank you for coming. And I'm really grateful for the kind of changes that come when we do the very difficult, very hard work of loving our enemy. And the impact is that we are worthy enough to receive more. We are worthy enough to receive more love because we gave it to our enemy. And Patty and I were talking earlier, we become the enemy to somebody else when we don't love our enemy. That enemy holds a place in our brain, and we're going to talk more about our brain today. So, who is ready to get started? Raise your proverbial hand, raise your heart, put your hand on your heart and say, I'm in, I'm ready. All right. So, this is, let me adjust my screen here. You guys are so patient today. I really appreciate your patience. Oh, as I have experienced something that I've never had happen before. I'm really, really grateful that I now learned something for the future. So, love your enemy challenge today, day 2. We are going to generate that gratitude state. And the reason we do that is because anytime during the day, we can do that for ourselves. Take those 3 breaths in, blow out through a straw, and then feel something grateful. And sometimes I found like, oh, there's nothing to be grateful, not one thing. And then I'll be like, oh, I'm standing up. Like I'm able to stand. So sometimes I focus it directly on my physical body and what my physical body can do for me. I'm able to see the color red. And I'm so grateful that I can see the color red. I'm able to feel my toe move. Like sometimes we have to get really into minute details of things to start the grateful process. But this is very important for us to change and adjust our lives, which is what this is all about. So I want you to use this throughout the day. Notice what you're noticing. Notice what you're noticing when somebody shows up in a meeting and does something that we don't like. Like, what did I notice? I noticed my chest was like feeling like somebody was compressing and I felt pressure. All right, I noticed that. Then I interrupt, I breathe, and I focus or refocus. I interrupt, breathe, and focus or refocus. Would you like this? Thank you. So we're going to use this throughout the day. No matter what happens in our day, we know what to do. We know what to do. Raise your hand and say, I know what to do, because you're going to interrupt, you're going to breathe, and you're going to focus. And one of the good questions to focus on, and we'll talk more about what to focus on, is what would I love? What we do not practice. And we do not practice the work until we have created this upper level vibe. So yesterday we talked a little bit about the upper level vibe and the lower level vibes. The lower level vibes are measured based on their acidity to our skin. Shame is the most acidic emotion. It will burn right through skin. It'll burn right through internal organs. Anybody heard of ulcers? So in order to adjust that state, interrupting is the most powerful way to create from a different state. If we are in the state of shame, what will we create? More of the same. Of course, we're looking for it. The brain is set up to look and be wired to look for the same experience that we're giving ourselves internally. Let me say that again. The brain is set up and wired to look for what experience we're giving it internally. And this is why on day 4, we're going to talk about imagination. Is that powerful? Give me some hearts. Give me an emoji. Yes. So we do not practice the work until we have created this upper level vibe. Stay in that vibe. Interrupt your thoughts. Notice what you're noticing and move forward from a different state to create a different possibility. Notice what you notice. You can feel the air on your skin and the moisture in your mouth and your eyes blinking. Just notice it right now. You can feel your air filling your abdomen. And also notice emotions and how they feel inside. When you think about being sad, you have an inner sensation. When you think about being shocked, you have an inner sensation. And then when you think about being grateful, you also have an inner sensation. When you think about being proud or um, amazed, you have an inner sensation. So just notice that. Notice what you're noticing. Be aware. So let's talk about interrupters. Do we want to interrupt ourselves with a slap on the face or a punch to the gut? Like, do we need punishment to interrupt? No, no, no. We can do things that we enjoy to interrupt. If we want to interrupt sadness, should we give ourselves something to be sad about? If we want to interrupt anger, should we give ourselves something to be angry about? No. So what interrupters work for you so that you can feel good? And this is a workshop, so I really want you guys to write this down. I've got ideas for you. I would love other ideas. You can feel free to share them, feel free to type them out, chat them out. Really take a look at yourself, because you are designed uniquely, perfectly for you, by you, in you. And you're the only one that really knows you, right? You're the only one that really knows you inside and out, with inside all of the facets of your mind. No one else has experienced life the way you have, through your eyes, from your life, inside your feelings, in your body. Patty, what works for you?
Yeah, meditation helps, but also diaphragm breathing. And Dr. Wow has that 4-7-8 breath. And I
Yes.
really enjoy that. And the box breathing with the count to 4, hold in 4, blow out 4, hold in 4.
Awesome. So the 7-8, what was it? 4-7-8 breath?
Yes, 4-7-8 breath. And he
Okay.
explains it on there and everything. And it does. I'm a binge eater, so it actually helps with my binge eating. Like, I actually
Definitely.
stopped it last night in mid binging, and it was so nice to do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're not beating yourself up over it. So this is what I'm talking about. When we're binge eating and we're beating ourselves up, we're gonna feel like eating more, because we're in the same program, we're in the same brain wave, we're in the same vibration as what binge eating is doing. It's beating us up, right? So how do we interrupt that state and interrupt that program? So 4-7-8 breath and the 4-4 breath. That's awesome, because breathing is giving you a different state. It's giving you a life-giving state as opposed to a life-stealing. And we can use it for eating all the time. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Tapping. Keely and I, we both use tapping. There are many things that work, and I found tapping to work really great. Really great. Oh, where did I put those? I thought I had put our interrupters from yesterday. Maybe I stuck them down lower. Oh, yes. So I'm just checking through here. Okay. So tapping is great. And I know that Tal loves that too. So here are a couple things that help also. If you find yourself being kinesthetic, so sometimes I'll see something and it will go instantly to my throat, my gut, or my groin. And I remember thinking, this is so weird. And I said something to my kids, or one of my kids said something about, I have a tingly in my groin. I'm like, oh my goodness, I do that. It's a sensation that goes like, when somebody's in pain, we have an instant body feeling, and you might feel it in your throat, your gut, or even your groin. And so to give ourselves an opposite feeling, sometimes it's good to draw on ourselves. Draw, I love you. Draw a heart. Draw a star. Like, so now we're refocusing, we're interrupting, and we're giving ourselves a different sensation. What does your body need when you're in a negative sensation? The same sensation? No, it needs a new sensation. Massage your neck. Guys, give yourself a different sensation. Like, doesn't that feel good? Run your fingers around your eye sockets. There's a lot of endorphins and beautiful things that happen. I do this for my horse. Run your fingers here. I think there's a really good one up in your gums. Find good places where Rub your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Give yourself a different sensation. Hug yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a good foot rub, right? This is called cross tapping. It's kind of a hug with a tap. It gives you a different sensation, but it also gives your body something different. Sometimes we do for our body something it needs, and then our body gives us a better sensation. Tapping on our 5 points. I tap between the eye, beside the eye, under the eye, collarbone. And then I love to take a deep breath in, blow it all out, and refocus. So the interrupters are here to help us refocus, to give us the option, the possibility to think about something different. Smell your favorite scent. Did you know that the sense of smell is the only one that opens up both brain centers, right and left? Smell something beautiful. Carry an essential oil, carry around a flower. Maybe you love the smell of old leather or something that just brings back instant good memories. Give someone else a hug, you know, that feels good to us too. You can also do something goofy. Tap your head and rub your belly and switch hands. Tap your head and rub your belly. These are all interrupters that are kind of playful and fun. Get up and skip. Do something that's going to work for you to give you a different sensation. All right. So we've got tapping on here. Skipping really works. Music really works. Have it ready. Have it ready so that you can practice more of that emotional health for yourself. So we're going to interrupt it. And don't forget, you're going to interrupt with tapping. Don't forget after that to breathe. You could do those 3 breaths. That helps reset the subconscious mind. And then focus. What are we going to focus on? What's helpful for me to focus on right now? You can ask that question. You can Google your brain and your brain will give you answers. Woo! Let's Google it for the good things that we love. We can Google our brain and our brain will give us answers. What do I want more of? What do I want more of? Think about that thing. That's a refocus. What gives me automatic love sensations? I remember I used to have a picture. Well, right now on my phone, I have this adorable picture, but I used to have a picture of a baby platypus. And it was so cute. It just made me feel instantly good. It's a great interrupter and it's a great refocus. See this picture right here? My daughter brought my pony in the house. So that's my screensaver. When I see it, I'm like, oh, that was so cute. Like, he's so adorable. And he comes walking in pit, 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 pit. And I told her, like, if he poos, you're going to clean it up. And sure enough, he did. And she did. And it was wonderful. So now we also want to notice what past positive experience create that good feeling. And guys, someone's going to win a journal. And in this journal, this is the rules of the journal. You only get to write down positive things, good things, great experiences, things you love to smell, to see, to feel, to touch. You can make it your art project. You can draw in it, and you can also add those things that give you an instant sensation. So you're out playing with your kids or your grandkids or your partner or a best friend, and you find a pretty leaf and you paste that leaf in there. As soon as you look at that leaf, it floods your body with those positive experiences from that moment. Our body loves to give us what we think about. And if we can think about and direct our thoughts to only good moments in our life, woo, we're going to be feeling good. So what future dreams create your good feeling? What desired result feels like a miracle? What past miracle or success are you really proud of? Interrupt, breathe, and refocus. And these are some of the very important things to refocus on when you're wondering, like, what am I supposed to think about? Have something ready. Have one memory. I have one amazing memory. And this is kind of the key for today. The key for today that will change your life is to have a memory ready so that when you interrupt, you know exactly what to do. I have a bit of an ADHD mind sometimes. And I could spend an hour like trying to find a happy memory, but I had one ready before I learned how to swim before I was drowning. So I had one memory ready and I always went to that memory. I knew exactly what to do. When you know exactly what to do, someone's yelling at you, somebody's expecting something of you, you're feeling all this pressure. and you know that you can tap, let it go, and then move your mind straight into a positive memory, my whale experience, then I am providing that inner power for myself. Write it down, find some really positive memories. So here's a story of the three salesmen. And the point is, it's hard to be around someone who's always negative. So this is from the Dream Builder program, which I am certified to teach you. There were three salesmen who came from different parts of the United States. They sold farm equipment and came to the central portion of the United States to a farming community in order to learn how to sell a new piece of farming equipment. They would work together for an entire week. Of the three, one happened to be Hindu, one happened to be a Jew, and the third happened to be a practicing negativist. It doesn't matter what happened, he found something wrong with it. Have you ever met people like that? That's a program, right? So this is what we're updating, programs. Didn't matter what he found, he complained, he whined, he moaned all week long. The energy was so negative that by the end of the week, Friday, on the way to the last sales call, the other two looked at each other and said, we cannot wait to get 30 miles to the airport, catch our plane, and fly in a completely different direction. All right. Well, they made the last sales call. They head towards the rental car company to the airport. And only about 5 miles after leaving the last sales call, they're still 25 miles from the airport and their car breaks down. The negativist just erupts, moaning, complaining, whining. This is awful, awful. The other two say, wait a minute, we might be able to get some help. They look out across the field and see a farmer's house. They hike quickly to the house and knock on the door. Sam comes to the door. He's moving slowly. The salesmen tell him that they need some help and that they need it right away. Is there a shop somewhere, someone they can call, to get them to the airport? If they could get some help and get their car repaired. And he's looking at his watch and says, you know, it's 5:15 and old Joe leaves the shop at 5. It's down the street and he could help you, but he's not going to help you today. He's not going to be able to help you until the morning. I'm sorry, you're not going to get on the plane tonight. But I do happen to have a guest room with a couple of twin beds and there's a bunk in the barn. I'll feed you guys dinner and you can spend the night here. Two are grateful. The third is whining and moaning and complaining. So after dinner, they're discussing where each will sleep. And the Hindu says, well, I'll sleep in the barn, no problem. So they go to bed and a half hour later, there's a knock on the door. Well, the one complains at being woken up and the two of them go to the door and it's the Hindu and he says, I'm very sorry. In my tradition, cows are sacred and there is a cow in the barn. It's not permissible for me to be sleeping with a sacred cow. The one is whining and complaining, and the Jew says, no problem, I'll go to the barn. He goes to the barn and he beds down. Half hour later, there's a knock. Again, the whiner and the complainer whines and complains. They go to the door, and now it's the Jew. And he says, you know, guys, I'm so sorry too. But in my tradition, pigs are unclean, and it's just not appropriate for me to be in the barn with an unclean pig. So the one who's whining and complaining says, forget it. I'm not getting any sleep anyway. So he marches out to the barn and bed down. And a half an hour later, there's a knock on the door. And they go to the door and it's the cow and the pig. Who do we want to become? Who do we want to become? It's in the journey that we are becoming, right? Is this the thought that's going to produce the results that I want? But we have to be aware of those thoughts, right? We cannot produce different results from the same thoughts, but I wasn't aware at all about my thoughts. I thought I was positive, for Pete's sake. The negative childhood experiences that we experience, the negative adult experiences, and the bad things that happen to us create a deep sensation that our brain loves to replay. I'm going to read that again. The negative childhood experiences, the negative adult experiences, and the bad things that have happened to us create a deep sensation that our brain loves to replay. Its purpose is to keep us safe. But that focus is bringing us into the vibration that brings more of that same vibration into our lives. So we really want to find those happy memories that are going to produce the emotions and the actions and the results that we want more of in our life. Does that make sense? Think about them often. Step into them. When I step into the memory of my whale, I five sensorize it. I smell it. It smells salty and fishy. I feel it. It's like this thick, rubbery wetness, smooth as glass, dense. I see it. I looked down and there was her eye and there was a big barnacle on her. And I remember having this like transformative moment. Like this whale has a barnacle. Most people think barnacles are homely and ugly and grotesque. And here I am looking at this whale thinking she's so beautiful because she chose me. And you know, the feeling that I have from that experience, of course, I can see the waves and I can see other whales jumping and the sun sets on my body. It's so warm, but I also feel chosen. How do I do that inside myself? A whale came up from the wild under my boat. I feel chosen inside by this warm, inviting, comforting, like inside hug. If I'm doing that when a bad situation's happening, I'm going to think clearly. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to open up a new possibility. Isn't that right? And that's who I want to become. So think and design. Who do you want to become? I appreciate all the thumbs up and hearts. Thank you. Who do you want to become? So let's look at this. When we think on thoughts that aren't our dream, we are giving what we don't want our attention. So think about those negative experiences that your brain loves to think about. It loves it. What that means is that it's it it is the one that it wants to pay attention to and wants to recreate over and over to keep you safe. When we give those that we don't want attention, God thinks those thoughts are what we want, that's our desire. And the universe is created to pay attention to what we focus on and to produce or create from that focal point, from our perception. Two people can have a completely different perception, as we learned from the Jew, the Hindu, and the practicing negativist. Same situation, completely different perspective. And that is because the focus is different. What we don't want is a strong point of focus for our brain to naturally do. Naturally, it is going to pick that out for us. So now we are opening up a possibility of something different. Thoughts produce results. So if you're having results in an area of your life, check out what you're thinking. That's a good moment to say, oh, here's a result of something I don't want. Notice what I'm noticing. Well, I'm feeling kind of anxious. I'm feeling kind of concerned about this situation. I wish that this person would just stop doing this so I didn't have to see it again. That's a thought. It's going to create an emotion and a vibration, which is going to create an action. And if we don't want our actions to be angry, hateful, hurtful, painful, and cause problems for somebody else, there is the point that we can interrupt, right? Interrupt it. So I want you to be very clear on there's a result, go back to the thought, interrupt, interrupt, interrupt. If we don't know what we're thinking, we can look at the results, go back and figure it out. I thought I might fall off my bike with my dog Nala recently. We were going to go on a bike ride and I was like, oh, she's always running in front of me when I'm walking her. Like, what's going to happen? I had that thought and guess what happened? I fell off the bike. I stopped the thought, but I didn't make it better. I didn't imagine it better. I interrupted it and I forgot the rule. Interrupt and focus on making it better. Imagine it the way I want it to be. So I ended up falling over. It was fine, no big deal. But I thought it's a great teaching point. I thought about it. I stopped the thought. I interrupted it, but I did not create it the way I wanted it to be. So do I want the results of this thought? If not, interrupt it. All right. Now, we have an enemy. We all have an enemy. And I want us to play the story in our mind. And Patty already did a beautiful job of this. I want us to interrupt that story. Okay. Go back there and notice this story with the enemy. And I want you to interrupt it every single time you replay it and refocus and feel good. Refocus on, raise your vibration to a different point. How do I feel when I'm petting my whale, great. Now, if I go back and imagine that enemy, how do I feel about that enemy? Well, a little bit less hateful. So now I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to tap. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to write on my arm. I'm going to skip around the room. I'm going to play a song. And then I'm going to go and refocus my mind on my whale. Why? Because my whale gives me an instant positive feeling of love and being chosen and important and wanted. So find those memories that will give you that and use this technique of interrupt, refocus, interrupt, refocus, interrupt, refocus. And when you go back and look at your enemy, you're going to be like, oh, this is weird. Things are changing. And this is how the brain works. This is how it's designed to, unfortunately, usually designed to notice the negative things and make positive things negative so that you're really protected. But when we're so protected, we're isolated and we're not living the life we really love. So interrupt, refocus. You can refocus on, I used one happy memory because I had a lot of really bad betrayal in my life and hate and resentment and pain. And I just needed one thing I could focus on to give me that feeling of life. Find something that gives you the feeling of life, of really living, that sparks you up, that lights you up. So the point is to focus on what you love. What would you love to have, be, or do? What good in the world is drawing you? What would you love to have happen? What do you already love? Use those things to interrupt and refocus. So we talked a little bit about those interrupters, and you can find things that work for you. All right. If you're struggling with that, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you do that as well. So I have a story about letting go of your story. And all of these things are leading up to you being capable of doing this. Totally capable. I believe in, there is nothing that's outside of your power when you believe. And I personally didn't know how to believe just because I didn't understand interrupt, refocus, interrupt, refocus. And now I do. And what can come of the possibilities when we're no longer living from that past point of pain because we interrupted it and refocused. And when we went back to it, it looked better. It looked different. We saw it from other people's perspective. We understood their point. We saw that they're not the enemy, but the way they had been treated showed up as a pattern in their life. And they did something that hurt you. The energy, the vibration, the negativity is the enemy. And when we don't have that inside of us for someone else, then we no longer create that same pattern and become someone else's enemy. So you have to be willing to let go of your old story in order to be healed. The way forward is to start living the new story. Take up your bed and walk, as the example is going to show. The master skill sets that we can develop as we practice brave thinking is the ability to have a condition without the condition having us. And that means we are no longer experiencing it emotionally as a pivotal memory point of reference. So we talked yesterday about how these really traumatic betrayals and abuses and experiences from the past that have really hurt us become a really powerful memory recall for us. And we might not even be thinking about it, but our subconscious is certainly running all of our emotions from that point of reference. So one of the skill sets in brave thinking is the ability to have a condition without the condition having us, to be able to see a situation and neutralize it and call it just a situation. So that the power we have to co-create, the power we have to rise above and transform a situation or condition, we're able to tap into that power and apply it and use it constructively in service of a life we love living. Use it in service of a life we love living. An example of this is the person of Jesus. He mastered this ability, and every one of us can as well, to look at a situation and not let it become powerful, but keep the power to transform situations in our own awareness and in our heart. So, Jesus was walking through the pools of Bethesda, downtown Jerusalem. In ancient days, there were 5 pools of the water in downtown Jerusalem. And think of these as places where people go shopping. It's their marketplace. People come to buy their goods, and women carry their baskets on their heads. And if they're wealthy enough to have a donkey or camel, those were beasts of burden who would carry their things. Regardless, they're carrying all the things back to where they live from this marketplace. They were their supplies for living. There were people at the time, of course, that were ill. And the belief was that that if you got to one of the pools of Bethesda and an angel of God ruffled the waters and you were the first person in the water, then you'd be healed. So whether it was the wind moving the water or the interpretation of the angel of God, or perhaps a spring bubbling or God moved the water, the belief was that it was shared, that if you jumped in the water, the first person would be absolutely healed. And as they believed, so it was for them. So Jesus is walking through this part of town and he sees a man lying on his cot, paralyzed. That one wasn't supposed to be there. He walks up to him and says, "How long have you been here?" And the man says, 38 years. And he says to him, "Well, what are you doing laying here for 38 years? Wanting a condition to be changed?" And the man said indignantly, "What's wrong with you? Can't you see I'm paralyzed? I can never be the first person in the water." That's code for look at my condition. Look at how powerful my condition is. How dare you believe in the power? How dare you not believe in the power of my condition? And Jesus looks at him penetratingly, looks deep into his soul and asks a question. Now, the question he asks is not, would you like to be healed? Are you willing to be healed? Would you prefer to be healed? Do you believe you can be healed? He doesn't ask any of those. He asks one question, and there's a significant code here inside of the way he asks the question. He says to the man who's been paralyzed for 38 years, and by the way, the Bible, in the number 40 is very symbolic for the amount of time required for a transformation. So when you think of stories for transformation in the Bible, Noah had 40 days in the flood, Jesus had 40 days in the Mount of Temptation, Moses had 40 years of walking through the desert. So here this man has been here for 38 years, symbolic of just about ready for a transformation. And Jesus says to him, "Would you be healed?" In other words, would you move to the frequency of being healed? Would you be healed? And at that moment, with someone who's looking deep into this man's eyes, the man's feet, the part of him that is independent of the problem, independent of the circumstance, and we all have that, no matter what circumstance and no matter what condition, there's a part of us that is independent or more than the condition, right? The life breathing us is more than the condition, more than the circumstance. And looking into Jesus' eye, the man nods his head and says, "Yes, I would be healed." And Jesus said, "Take up your bed and walk." And the man did. And this is symbolic, of course, of if you will do what you can with what you have. Now, we didn't know up until now how impactful loving our enemy would be. But it's opening up, isn't it? Are we opening up to that possibility? Take up your bed and walk. Symbolic. If you will do what you can with what you have, other things will open up for you. Wallace Waddle says, thinking truth in the presence of facts is the toughest and most rigorous thinking any of us will ever do. And that's why so few of us do it. I had to read that like 5 times. Thinking truth in the presence of facts is the toughest and most rigorous thinking any of us will do. And that's why so few people do it. Do you believe the truth is that love is better? Do you believe the truth is that love will change the situation? Do you believe the truth is that love is what everyone needs in order to be better? Then in the presence of facts, I can't love that person. They did this. They betrayed me. They cheated on me. They stole from me. They killed. They hurt me. Can you think truth in the presence of facts? So the master teacher that understands that you can, the ways of a circumstance have hold on you. And you can say to those circumstances, you are not more powerful than the power within me. Then the one within me is greater than the one in the world. This is a living example of the power that every one of us has to have a circumstance, but not let that circumstance have us. Then no matter what it looks like, there's always something we can do with what we have from where we are. And if we will do that, and I want to say it's just this one thing, figure out how to feel love inside of you first. Figure out how to feel love inside of you first and practice it. And if we do that, things will open up. There'll be a next step and a next step and a next step. And this is the journey. Jesus and the paralytic are symbolic of you and a condition, your client and a condition. And the power within is always greater and must be assessed and applied. Do what you can with what you have. So how do you update this story that you have with an enemy? The enemy within you is inside when you think of that story. I want you to realize that all the characters, the evil, the pain, the excuses, the blame, the perpetrator, the whole story is inside this 9-inch space. Who is replaying it and how are you replaying it? Is it the sounds? Is it the visuals? Is it the smell? Is it the feeling? All of that's just in here. And it filters into your body and gives you sensations from that story, right? How does your brain replay that? Update it. Update it. Interrupt, breathe, and refocus. Notice it, interrupt, breathe, and refocus. Notice it, interrupt, breathe, and refocus. So how does our brain update information? This is how it usually works. We go to a restaurant, we love this restaurant, we take all of our friends to this restaurant. When anyone comes in town, we go and eat there because it's the best. And then we go and have an experience where the food was cold and somebody was rude to us and they didn't even give us our table for way longer. They served someone else first even. Now we have one bad experience. Tell me if you're going to bring your friends back to that place. You've had hundreds of great experiences. But this one time where you got served poorly and the food was bad, you said, I'm never going back there. So the brain updated all those experiences and you forgot all the good things. And you're looking through this tiny, tiny view, this really tiny view of hate, this really tiny view of that one bad experience. So can we do that to change it? Can we look at our bad experience through this little tiny view of love and start to see things different and start to notice things different and even use our faculty of imagination like Patty did to become the cheerleader instead of the punisher? Yes, our brain is a miracle and it works when we understand this about it. All right, so today for our challenge, we are going to update our story. This is really going to be huge, and some of you might need extra support. So don't take an enemy that is so difficult for you to transform. Maybe just use a little experience, like a restaurant you hated, and play with it. Notice, oh, I can't believe here comes the waitress, and she's, got that scowly face on. Interrupt. What do I do to interrupt? I love you. I sing a song and then I breathe and then I tell myself, oh, I love my whale. It was the most beautiful experience. I can't believe that she just trusted me to come up to my boat and I smell her and I hear her and I feel her and she purred, and the water rippled. And now I go back and I'm like, notice the waitress. Well, she doesn't really seem quite as mad. Like maybe she's just had a really bad day, right? And then interrupt that bad day. And then breathe and tap and breathe and like right on your arm, skip around the room, play a song, and then refocus. Oh, my whale. I can just smell the salt water on her and the fishiness. Oh, and I don't really like fish, but it smelled so good because it's her and she's alive and she's giving me this spark and this life and this beautiful experience. And then I go back and I notice the waitress and I'm like, wow, like I'm already feeling like she needs somebody to compliment her. So I've opened up a new opportunity. So what if in my memory, I complimented her and she's like, oh, thank you. You know, so and so, this thing happened and I was feeling down and you make me feel so much better. And now you make her feel better and she goes on and has a wonderful day and you enjoy your meal. Interrupt, breathe, and refocus and allow your brain to use the chemicals and the vibration of your good sensations to update that story with your enemy. When you no longer hold the enemy within, you will be nobody's enemy. Yes. It's a powerful feeling. We are powerfully made to create something wonderful in our world. And nothing, no experience is bigger than our power within. Thank you, Helia. So post in the group. Tomorrow, we will win a journal. Today, my daughter's going to draw a name, but I believe Patty's the only one who did the homework for yesterday. So if you did the homework for yesterday, please let me know so I can put you in the drawing. And tomorrow we're going to be drawing for a beautiful leather journal. It's the one that I personally use. I love it. Might look a little different depending on which country you're in. I'll order it from Amazon and have it shipped to you. And it's going to be your journal for all these beautiful experiences. And that's the only thing you're going to put in there. And so today, as you practice interrupt, breathe, and refocus, if you'd be willing to share in the group how your story is updating. You didn't have to try. You didn't have to work on it. It wasn't hard. It's not difficult. Guys, if it's difficult and hard to love, then you're just not doing it right. Love is easy. Love is light. Okay? And that's all right. We didn't know. We didn't know we weren't doing it right. We were trying so hard. But trying is not the program of love. I just think of that verse. Take my yoke upon me. It's easy. The burden is light. And I often wondered, it's not light, it's hard. It's all these rules. It's all this, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. And I hope that I've sparked a little bit of what to do because of the way your brain is formed and the way that we can help our brain form a different sensation. So if you'd be willing to share your story, then we'll make a drawing and a person's going to win a beautiful journal to share these wonderful life-giving changes that all you have to do is open up your journal and your body will feel the beautiful sensations of all of your past wonderful experiences, your future hopes, and the things that really help you come to life. And as you practice it, you will become more and more alive and living a life that you love. Wonderful, wonderful. I appreciate you all. Thank you for your patience and love and joy for me this morning. And I'm really excited to hear how this changes your life.
Thank you so much. Standing ovation.
Oh, you're so very welcome. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Bye, Helia.
Bye-bye.